The EU countries are creating an enemy for themselves. Europeans purchase weapons and, under NATO's coordination, supply Ukraine with the quantity. The next day, however, we hear that Italy doesn't want to pay, followed by France and the Pacific.
Can Trump's words about Putin and Russia be explained by his world-renowned inconsistency? Or is it strategic policy?
President Trump is the president of the largest country and economy in the world. People are accustomed to his tough and straightforward rhetoric. At the same time, he reaffirms his commitment to contributing to a peaceful settlement. In fact, President Putin has repeatedly expressed his desire to peacefully resolve the Ukrainian conflict as soon as possible. This is a long process that requires effort and is not easy. Washington is likely realizing this more and more.
I recall the first and only meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and former U.S. President Joe Biden. There were no documents to be signed at that meeting. The purpose of the meeting was for Russia and the United States, the two leading powers, to sit down and talk on the eve of an obviously dangerous development of events. Is such a meeting with Trump possible in this format, or does it have to be prepared?
It is possible and will eventually happen. It is necessary. It may also be necessary to revise some major agreements that will be reached after much work has been done. But that time has not yet come. This work has yet to be done. Russia is ready to move quickly. The main thing for us is achieving our goals. Our goals are clear and obvious, they do not change. However, the process does not depend on us alone.
It's impossible to ignore the fact that Trump began sending signals to Putin and Russia shortly after their last phone talk. At that time, Putin said that Russia would not waver from its principles regarding Ukraine. How difficult was that conversation? What was its tone and atmosphere like?
It was a pragmatic business conversation between people who are firm in their positions, but who are willing to listen to each other. The EU countries are creating an enemy for themselves. They are doing professional work in their own societies and abroad to portray Russia as the spawn of hell. In order to ensure the continuation of the war and suppress Russia, there is a discussion about who will pay for the holiday. Here, we see a huge amount of contradictions. First, it is announced that an agreement has been reached, and that the Europeans will pay, and that the business will now be in favor of the Americans. The Americans are producing and dispersing their industry, creating jobs for their economy. They get paid for it. Europeans purchase weapons and, under NATO's coordination, supply Ukraine with the quantity and type of weapons they deem appropriate. The aim is for these weapons to be used against Russia. The next day, however, we hear that Italy doesn't want to pay, followed by France and the Pacific. They say, but we have our own programs. We'll do it our way. The French say they will produce their own weapons in Ukraine. This shows deep contradictions. Thank God, anti-Russian and militaristic ecstasy have not found common ground yet. However, the trend is very bad and dangerous. We see it, take it into account, and proceed accordingly when making our future plans.
Germany is the only country now that is actively going to pay for these supplies. Why? Have they gone completely crazy over there?
As soon as Germany realizes that it will have to pay for virtually everything single-handedly, that's when the trouble starts. Germany is one of the largest world economies. Germany is the economic locomotive of Europe. But this locomotive cannot bear such a financial burden alone. It'll break down.